He was like, don't be a chicken shit, grow a pair, throw yourself to the wolves.
Yeah.
And something inside me again told me it's just that intuition. I'm like, I got to do this. And so I quit my W-2 and went full on. And let me tell you, like, it was definitely stressful. Like, I
Sure.
had moments where I woke up, I mean, for months, like on the hour, every hour from like 11 p.m., 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., just stressed, even though I knew most of my bills were being covered by house hacking and things like that. I was just like, okay, but I'm so used to my bank account doing this in the corporate world, and now it's doing
No,
this.
and,
And
and
so,
this, and this. All right. Welcome to another episode of Knowledge to Currency, where knowledge is power and currency is king. I'm your host, Senator Porter, and we have the lovely Chi Nguyen on our show today. Welcome to the show.
thank you. Thanks for having me.
We're honored to have you on the show. I met you at a meetup or several meetups,
Yeah.
and we've been anticipating having you on. You have, I guess you would be considered a jack of all trades because you do so many different things.
I guess I don't love that term because I don't want to be a master of none, but I
Yeah.
think that each of the trades that I do kind of help inform the other
Mhm.
ones. So I think it's kind of like a nice holistic picture of like different forms and streams of income. So
Well, we're a lot alike. So this show, our focus is to kind of teach people. If you have a 9 to 5, a lot of stuff you see on Instagram, people are saying, get rid of your 9 to 5, be your own boss, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think you should have balance with income. There's no one thing to invest in or one thing to do. So that's why I was saying that with you,
yeah,
because you don't just invest in one thing. And I feel like that gives you more freedom, more flexibility. If you do have a W-2 job, that's your first investor.
yes,
Instead of going to family stuff, if you can't do that, if you have a job, when you go to banks, because I was working in the banking industry, they'll say, okay, well, this person is, let's say, trying to buy an ice cream parlor. I always pick that because that's one of my dreams is to own
ooh,
one.
okay,
Yeah, so if you were to try to get a loan through the bank and just say, hey, I want to start this ice cream parlor, you bring them a business plan and you have good credit. If you don't have additional income or assets, you're going to get declined.
yeah,
But if you have a career and a job, they say, okay, well, if the ice cream parlor doesn't work out, this person can still pay us. They have income.
yeah.
So that's why I think that's a good thing.
Hmm.
But let's talk about your real estate journey and how you got involved in real estate. How long have you been doing real estate?
About 5 years.
Okay, so only 5 years and you've
Yeah.
done all this stuff.
Yes.
Okay, and where did you start doing the real estate?
So I think my first foray into it was I think I was telling you I was a real estate agent for about 4.5 months
Okay,
in LA, and I thought that's what real estate was. But
right,
I realized quickly, I mean, I closed my first 3 deals in my first 4.5 months of being a real estate agent, which was awesome. But I had gotten out of the corporate world actually because of what you just said, which is
right,
I wanted to be my own boss. But
right,
I realized that if I wanted to be a really good agent, to me at least, it felt like I had 20 bosses. I was
right,
taking phone calls at 11 p.m. And, shout out to you agents out there. Like, you guys are amazing. You're like therapists. You're like and I really enjoyed it. But I also was like, this is not going to give me the quality of time. There are 3 things in my life that I want to achieve is that I want to be able to live the life I want to live. Lead it the way I want to, the lifestyle. I want to be able to raise my kids when I have them someday,
mhm,
the way I want to raise them and be present all the time. And then number 3, I want to start my own nonprofit. And so I knew that if I was a real estate agent and I'd be at maybe a soccer game on Saturdays and then I'd get a call and they're like, hey, I want to buy a $2 million house. I'm like, okay, kids, I
gotta
gotta
go.
go because this is going to pay for your college education.
Right,
And so I did that for, like I said, 4.5 months. And then I realized, okay, there's got to be some other way. And that's when I came across the book, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor.
okay,
Somebody gave me the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, the red book. And I was kind of like, wait, but I kind of want the blue one. So it's
right.
kind of very a red, blue, or red
Red,
pill,
blue,
blue
blue pill.
pill moment
Okay.
for me. And I was like, I'm so drawn to that. What is that? And I kind of like, I got the book myself because Keller Williams, like Manhattan Beach, didn't want to give me the blue one. They wanted, by the way, I love that office. That office is awesome. Just like, I love to make fun of people every once in a while. That's like my thing. But yeah, I read it on my own and I was like, that is my calling. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And so I started going to all these RIAs, these real estate investment meetups in LA and San Gabriel Valley and Cerritos and Long Beach. And at one of them, there was a person at the front of the room talking about note investing. So
Okay.
I realized that in that moment, there was only me and one other person in the room that could make sense of anything that this person was saying. And so I was like,
Oh,
ooh, the
okay.
riches are in the niches. And
Right.
so I delved super hard into it, did note investing. I'm still a note investor today. So
Okay.
we can talk more about that. But from there, I've started, also have rentals in Los Angeles and San Diego. I've done a little bit of like small time development, like a ground up 2-story, 1,200 square foot ADU. I do some private money lending to local flippers. And right now I'm actually just trying to buy more rentals. So
Dang, gee. So you, like I said, jack of all trades.
yeah.
But what I love what you said is you said, for me, this is what the path I want. So
Yeah.
you're not like hating on realtors or anything like that. You're just saying, nope, I tried it. This is the stuff I like, but there are more things I didn't like. And then you
Yep.
made a pivot and said, well, I want to learn more about this. And then you took action and immediately started learning the information, because that's what a lot of people do wrong is they do want to try something
Yeah.
else, or they know that this is not for me and they just keep going down the path that's not for them,
Yes,
you know?
exactly. And I was really lucky along the way. I had and still have so many amazing mentors.
Hmm.
I actually did quit my W-2, so it's like,
Okay. That's okay. There's
yeah.
nothing wrong with that as long as you can afford to pay for the stuff you want to do.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I was house hacking at the time at this house that I bought in LA, so it covered my mortgage. And one of my mentors at the time, I was debating back and forth, should I quit my W-2, should I not? And he was like, and I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but he basically was like, Chi, don't be a chicken shit.
Yeah,
Like,
you could curse. It's okay.
okay. He was like,
Freedom
don't.
of speech and knowledge to currency. Freedom of speech.
Okay, cool. He was like, don't be a chicken shit, grow a pair, throw yourself to the wolves.
Yeah.
And something inside me again told me, it's just that intuition. I'm like, I got to do this. And so I quit my W-2 and went full on. And let me tell you, like, it was definitely stressful. Like, I
Sure.
had moments where I woke up, for months, like on the hour, every hour from like 11 p.m., 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., just stressed, even though I knew most of my bills were being covered by house hacking and things like that. I was just like, okay, but I'm so used to my bank account doing this in the corporate world, and now it's doing this.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
This, and this,
yeah. And I was
and
like,
this, and
yes.
this.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, whew, okay, I need to like figure this out. I had like chronic stress fatigue syndrome. I was just like stressing myself out. But here's the thing, like I wouldn't do it differently because
Mhm.
the amount of knowledge I received in that time where I can throw myself fully at this one project almost 24/7 because I was like not sleeping.
Mhm.
That compound interest of like, okay, I'm just building on the knowledge, building on the knowledge, building on the knowledge has like led me to success that I honestly didn't think would happen that quickly. So it was cool.
What was your old corporate job?
In the organic food and beverage industry.
Oh, serious?
Yeah, I'm really like also passionate about good food and health and all that stuff too. So I loved the industry for sure. But I
Okay.
had something happen where my CEO at the time, she was like so badass, and I like so respected her. On a company-wide phone call, she said she was so stressed out that she would be brushing her hair and clumps of hair would come out. So she
Oh,
started,
that's sorry.
yeah, I
That's too
felt
bad.
right, and I felt really bad for her. I was like, wait a second. So when you're at the top, you're like still not at the top, because I realized
Mm.
she has stakeholders she has to respond to. She has a board of directors she has to respond to. Like, she's still trying to please so many people and
Mhm.
trying to make things work. And so I was like, that doesn't sound like it's for me. I think what's for me is like my one person business. Maybe I'll have an assistant someday. And I love not having to worry about anything else except for like, how am I going to keep this roof over my head, which is a big one. It's a big
Yeah.
one.
Oh, yeah. It's
Yeah.
huge, especially in
In
Cali.
San Diego. Yeah, for sure. It's expensive here now, unfortunately. But yeah, I was like, that's probably not for me. And so yeah, but I still love the organic food and beverage industry. I still support the companies that I worked for back in the day. And yeah, I like hawk their stuff all the time, buy it, give it out to people. So I still love it.
So you love the farmers market and all the stuff here.
Huge,
Yeah.
huge farmers market
Have,
person.
have you always lived in California?
I was born and raised in San Jose,
Okay.
so in NorCal. I moved down to San Diego when I was 13. My brother and my sister and I were so upset when we moved, but honestly, best thing that's ever happened to us.
Okay.
Like, definitely, I mean, we saw San Diego before the crazy, I feel like, rush that we've had since COVID here.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, it's still my favorite place. I've been to almost like 50 countries. It's still my favorite place in the world.
Who was that mentor that told you to take the leap?
Matthew Owens.
Matthew, shout out to you, brother.
Yeah. Yes.
So let's go down your path in San Diego. So you started doing the note investing first.
Yeah.
Let's kind of talk about that. Maybe people don't understand notes and how they work.
Yeah, absolutely. So mortgage note investing, it's when you buy institutionally originated notes.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say like Bank of America or Wells Fargo or Goldman Sachs or whatever bigger institution originated these notes for a borrower. And usually what they do is they will, if you have a mortgage, you'll find that maybe 12 months after you bought the home, you'll get a letter in the mail saying, hey, we have sold your mortgage. You can now make payments here at this new place. It's because mortgage originators or banks, they make most of their money on the points, and they like the first year of interest because, as you know, on a fully amortized note that has 360 payments, which is a 30-year fixed mortgage for most homeowners, most of the interest is paid up front, right? And over time, that kind of swaps. And so after the first 12 months, they're like, let me sell this off. And that kind of gets sold to different tranches. So like maybe Wells Fargo made the note, they'll sell it to Bank of America. Bank of America might sell it to Goldman Sachs. And then Goldman Sachs will sell it to maybe a hedge fund. A hedge fund might sell it to like an investment fund. An investment fund might sell it to an investor, like a mom and pop investor like myself.
Right.
And so that happens more, that note changes hands more often if the borrower is non-performing. So if the borrower decides not to pay, most banks will be like, we're not in the REO business. We've learned our lesson from 2008 and we don't want it. So we're going to sell it to somebody else. And we'll sell it at a discount, write that off on our books. It's still an asset to us in that way. And somebody else can do the dirty work of like getting this borrower reperforming. And so I am that person. I get into contact with that borrower and say, hey, listen, what can you make? Please submit a financial package. And they tell me all their bills. They submit all their bank statements and their credit card statements. A bunch of whole other things. And then I take a look at their entire financial picture and say, okay, well, instead of a $2,500 payment, you can probably make a $2,000 payment.
Right.
And we'll just restart your loan or however I want to structure it. And I'll make the payments, the term a little bit longer so that you can fully pay it over time.
Right.
And then there's so many ways you can get creative with it. I love math. And so it's just kind of a puzzle of like, okay, well, what can this person do? And then you just collect payments from them on a monthly basis, kind of like you would rent from a tenant.
So when you call them, are they like, I'm thinking you're a bill collector type of call, or is it you're like, hey, I want to help you type of call?
Hey, we want to help you. And I don't do the calls myself. I always have a third-party servicer do it just to abide by CFPB rules.
Okay.
And so just like as a landlord has their own team, like their handyman, their contractor, their house cleaner, like whoever else, and their eviction attorney if they need it. As a note investor, I have my team, which is a servicer. They take the payments from the borrower, and the borrower makes payments to them. And the servicer also will reach out to them and say, okay, hey, you're not making your payments. And then I have my foreclosure attorney as well. Of course, foreclosure attorneys are specific in their jurisdictions. And so I have a team of foreclosure attorneys that I like to work with. And so if they do become non-paying after we've kind of come to an agreement, then I do start the foreclosure just like you would if you were a landlord who had a non-paying tenant.
Oh, so this is kind of a way to get the property from before it hits the market and does all that stuff. So then you could actually buy the asset if you want.
Very sharp. Yeah, you're very sharp. You
Yeah,
can. A lot
you.
of people use it that way. Yeah.
So it's more almost like what a lot of people don't realize is I think that if you had somebody that was willing to perform and you helped them buy the property, that's like you always, the property's gonna gain value, we know for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, at least in San Diego, I think it's gone up like 23 to 26%. So that's like money in the bank, and it's money that you're not gonna make that kind of increase in the checking account.
Right.
But then if you show that you're trying to help this person, and then say they still can't perform, I think they'd be more willing to sell to you over a lot of other people that are calling them wholesalers and
Yes.
realtors and all that stuff.
Totally. But actually, as the mortgage note holder, as the, I guess, lender in this case, even though you're not the person who originated the note, you are stepping into the shoes of the original lender. So you have all the rights that the original lender had, which is actually one of the benefits of note investing, because which organizations in the world have the most financial backing behind them? Banks.
Yeah, banks.
And who's going to be able to pay the most high-powered attorneys in the world to write the best paperwork for them?
Banks.
Banks.
For sure.
So when you buy a mortgage note from a bank, you're fully protected based on the original paperwork. And so when a borrower becomes non-paying, a borrower / homeowner, you foreclose on them, you're protected by all these
laws, the rules. All the right paperwork has been filed.
Exactly.
They've signed agreements that they, said they're going to honor.
Yes.
So they're not a court that's going to say, "Hey, this isn't right," and you're abusing the tenant.
Right.
So that's awesome. So have you had stories where you got a property back from someone?
So yes, when we foreclose, we don't typically they don't sell it to us. We just foreclose and take it back at foreclosure sale. As a note investor, I typically like second position. So, there's first position mortgages and second position mortgages. In the 2008 crisis, I wasn't a note investor by that time, but I'm saying a lot of those notes are still trickling down, or they were. They're now drying up a little bit. But as a second position note investor, I was buying the 20, right? So I don't know if people remember. I know you do because you're a mortgage broker, but the 80-20 loans, do you want to explain the 80-20?
Yeah, no problem. So right now would be have you noticed that home equity lines of credit are very popular at the moment because during COVID, a lot of people got a really good interest rate on their first mortgage, but their value has also gone up. So we went from COVID, where we had the lowest debt in American history, to now after COVID, everyone's overspending.
Yeah.
So now we have the highest amount of debt in American history ever. So let's say you bought a house in San Diego in 2017 for $550,000. Now over time, that house is worth like $1.5 million. You still have that original loan, and the rate is good, but you have all this equity. Let's say you have $1 million in equity. So how do you get that equity? You can go to your bank and ask them for a home equity line of credit. They can give you like $100,000 line of credit. So you have your first mortgage. Let's say that's $450,000. And you have your second mortgage for $100,000, and you can use that $100,000 to pay off other debt.
Yeah.
Like some people do it to send their kids to college. Some people, just have it available if they want to invest in real estate or whatever. There's no rules on what you can use the money for, and it has a different interest rate than your first mortgage. So say your rate is, let's say you have 3.5% on the first mortgage. The line of credit, it's a variable rate. So what she's saying she does is, let's say the house is worth $1.5 million. Total, we have $550,000 with the first and second mortgage. She buys the note for the second mortgage for $100,000, but if they foreclose, she gets the whole asset for $100,000.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, and I would take it subject to the first position mortgage. But how amazing is that to do as an investor, because I'm getting a homeowner 3.5%.
Right.
That's already paid down, and I already when I buy a mortgage on the second position, I look at the combined loan to value ratio, CLTV, and I'm always trying to buy 75% or below. So I have that 25% cushion.
Right.
And if the market does take a 30% dip, which is very unlikely, I am still kind of covered, and I already bought that second position note at a discount. So let's say it was $100,000. I probably paid $60,000 for it, or $65,000. So I'm already having that extra buffer.
Right.
But yeah, so like some of the notes I purchased were the 80-20 loans back in 2008, which is a lot of homeowners. I don't know if people have seen The Big Short, but essentially, the main character, he was like talking to a dancer, and he was like, how are you affording 4 to 6 houses? And she's like, well, I have no money into it, basically. So most mortgage originators at the time, they're like, why don't we give you 80% of the loan, and then also 20% of the loan on the same day?
Right.
Just record it right after each other. And so since then, obviously like you've said, there's been so much equity in mortgages, homes, things like that. Yeah. So we would just I would buy the second position at a discount, and now I already have so much equity above and beyond both the first and the second. I have not personally taken back, and to answer your original question,
Sure.
a property through foreclosure in my own personal portfolio.
Okay.
That's actually not my lean. I actually got into note investing because my background is nonprofit work, and so I love being able to help people and being able to make a win-win situation for
Nice.
people. And so I was like, wow, note investing is so cool. Like I'm able to forgive some of the debt that this person owes
Mm-hmm.
and still make money. And so my goal is to keep the borrower in the home
Okay.
most of the time. However, that being said, I won't buy a note that is backed by a property for collateral that I wouldn't like to take into my own portfolio.
Perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, for example, yesterday I started a foreclosure and an eviction on the same day. Not great, but like it's going to be fine. Both are going to work out fine. Cause I know this lady, I've started foreclosure on her twice. She has a house here in Southern California. If I took the property from her, I'm so stoked because I love the collateral. I don't want to take the property back from
Right.
her, but you want to put yourself in a position where you're not like, ooh, I really don't want that terrible hoarder house that's like also a fire hazard or whatever.
Yeah.
You want to be in a position of power and say like, okay, well, I don't want to take the property back from you. I want you to stay. I want you to have a home. But I mean, if I have to, I will.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, you give them the option. I mean, and what a lot of people don't realize, it doesn't take long to start foreclosure. If you go beyond 30 days late, foreclosure can start. So, I mean, nowadays, a lot of people are one paycheck from that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So is that your favorite real estate strategy to invest?
You know, I'm pretty old school still. Like I
Yeah.
love rentals. And
Okay.
so my long-term goal is to have 30 to 50 single family rentals here in San Diego and have 3 self-storage facilities. That's my long term.
Boss.
Thank you. Yeah. So, and I know I can do it. You know, I
Yeah.
have mentors who have done it over and over again. And so I'm super lucky to be surrounded by like people who are way smarter than myself. And they inspire me every day. And so I do think that while I love notes and I nerded out on them and it came so naturally to me,
Mhm.
I don't regret doing it. I still do it. But I think that the idea of having a rental, like right now, the rentals that I have, I'm in my 30s now, and they, you know, I've had them for a few years already. So by the time I'm 60-ish, they'll be free and clear, and I'll just have X amount of dollars coming in pure cash flow in my 60s. Like, I think that's a darn good retirement plan.
Darn good.
Darn good. Yeah. And you're so great with those little quips. and you know, and I'm well on my way to being at a place where I've created enough like passive cash flow every month that like once I do have kids, I can be there for their soccer games or their, you know, martial arts or their recitals or their tournaments and things like that. So
What's cool is you have an idea of like your if you believe in affirmations and stuff, you're speaking what you want to happen.
yeah.
Not only just that, you're obviously taking action to do those things to set up for that future.
Yeah.
So that's probably why you always hit your goals, like
Yeah.
more than people that don't.
Mm-hmm.
So then you did the note thing, said that's really cool. What was the next real
Next
estate path
thing.
that you did?
Yeah, so rentals. So I had my house in LA that I'd bought. I had made a goal to buy it by the time I was 30. Oh, sorry. And and I was able to get it in my late 20 or when I was 27. So I house hacked it, and I was like, you know what? Like, there's this ADU thing going on. I want to practice on my own property. So I got into development, and I love development. Like I love it. If I could do it all the time. I know some people hate it. They're like, how could you love development? It's such a pain in the butt. I
Right.
hate dealing with the city. And I'm like, I love dealing with the city. Like, here's the reason why I love dealing with the city, because most people hate dealing with the city, right? And so
Yeah.
that gives me a
Advantage.
unique advantage because I like, if you get to know me in real life, like I love people. And I just think like city people are still people, you know,
Right.
like LA Department of Building and Safety. I loved my my plan checker. I had her cell phone number, I had her boss's cell phone number, I had her boss's cell phone number. I had like the chief of like the fire department, I had his cell phone number. Like
Connected.
I know. I just wish I had those connections here in San Diego. So I need to develop something in San Diego soon so I can do
Mhm.
that. But like, if you just treat those people with respect and you
Yeah.
know they're working hard, like why I feel like some people just kind of like bash them all the time. They're yelling at them. Why don't you have my plan stamped? Like, you attract more flies with honey than with vinegar. Like, why would you
Agreed.
do that? They're
Yeah.
working their butts off,
Yeah. No, I think I worked in customer service for Best Buy when I was young, and what I learned is energy levels. So we'd have people calling. They were like, I could always turn around the worst customer, and by the end of the
Yes.
call, they would like be saying they're gonna come back to Best Buy, and people would wonder why. And I never tried to like. What people will do is it goes up. Like
Yeah.
you
Escalate.
start. I'll be like, "Chi," and I start yelling at you. Then you start yelling at me. Then I start
Yeah.
yelling. So I would let them yell,
Yeah.
listen, and then I'm like, okay, so really you just want to return this product, and if I could return the product for you, you'll be happy.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I talked to the general manager. I talked to this stupid kid, and they're yelling and screaming. And I'm like, okay, let's figure out a way. So
Yeah.
then I was like, I'm gonna put you on hold, and I called the general manager. And general manager is like you're saying, everyone's coming in the store yelling at them.
Right.
And I'm like, well, okay, I understand the guy did this. I apologize for how he treated you.
Right.
This is his gripe. If we can just do this for him, return the washer and dryer or whatever,
Right.
he'll be a customer for life. Matter of fact, you could probably sell another one to him and sell the warranty.
Right.
And then they want to sell warranties. What a lot of people don't know, that's how Best Buy made a lot of money selling those warranties.
Oh.
So then that's how we get the general manager. So what I learned is getting everybody what they want makes people just happy.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Just get them what they want. Be nice. Be respectful. Because they're not usually receiving that respect, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that's so great. I think when I was in the organic food and beverage industry, I learned that being in sales and marketing is I could walk into a Whole Foods or a Sprouts or whatever, and those dairy managers or those produce managers, wherever part of the store I was selling my display into, they would be stressed, they would be hassled, they'd be like, "Oh my God, I got to get this open. Like the store needs to open soon," and they're stressed. And so I'm throwing like loads with them, like
Right.
I'm like helping them merchandise the store.
Right.
I'm like, I got you, and
Right.
like I think one of my favorite things is to be able to witness that changing of the energy. Like you said, like you're
Yeah.
seeing somebody like this, they're mad, they're angry, they're like stressed, and you bring them down to this, and then they're happy. And like to be able to change somebody's like trajectory of their day, like that is like so powerful. And yeah, I just, it's one of my favorite things. And
Help
yeah.
them with their chi.
Yeah, they're cute. Yeah, exactly.
No,
Yeah.
I agree with that. So then what was the first rental property you bought?
So my first rental property was that Los Angeles one where I house hacked it, and then I built a 3-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2-story, 1,200 square foot ADU on the back of the
Okay.
lot. And I was able to be there for most of the building. And I moved back to San Diego during COVID. So I was there for I missed the last half, but I would come up and check on it and things like that. And so now both of those are rented out. And then I've purchased rentals since. And I'm working on buying more rentals. And I'm actually started kind of a whole warm leads calling thing. I got 2 properties under contract last week, and
Nice.
probably going to wholesale those too. So because they don't fit my personal flip buy box or my rent buy box, rental buy box.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got a cash buyer in mind?
Yeah, we do have a couple for both properties. So we're just trying to hammer out the details this
So
week.
you say you have a partner you work with?
Yes, on this one. Yeah, I
Okay.
do. Yeah, we're just now starting out, so hammering out the details on that too. But it's been going really, really well so far.
So it's touch and go with the partnership.
No, it's
Nah, I'm
not.
kidding.
No,
I'm
it's not.
kidding.
No, it's actually really great. It's been really great. She's awesome. I love. Yeah, I'm
I'm
really
kidding.
enjoying.
I'm
Yeah,
kidding. All right, so
you're gonna get me in trouble over here,
no,
Senator.
no, we don't want to get you in trouble. So then, the goal is to obviously build up the rental portfolio. Is there any other stuff that you're working on?
Yeah, so I have been in talks with a self-storage facility owner here in San Diego as well
Ooh.
for the past several weeks. So trying to figure out a deal that works for both him and his wife and myself
Yeah.
and my business partner on that as well, a different business partner. So I'm, again, so lucky. I'm surrounded by people that are much more talented than me and who have been in the business for like a decade and a half or 2 or 3 longer than me. So hopefully gonna be able to close a deal with this business partner soon too. He's been in the self-storage facility industry for a long time.
Nice.
But yeah, so those are my two big projects right now, and then still doing private money lending to local flippers, and then also still doing note investing as well.
So for the self-storage facility, how does that work? Are you going to do owner finance? You got to get a loan from a bank like SBA?
Yes.
Or how you
Ooh,
going to?
look at you. Deep knowledge on so many things. We're exploring both. Honestly, right now, the seller financing thing works way better. This is a property that's owned free and clear. And then when I wrote up did all the math of what they would be hit with if we were to pay them,
Lump sum, the capital gains. So the audience, just so you understand, when I say SBA loans, you basically go down to the small business office and they give you a loan. I think it's I can't remember what it's called, but you can go to them. They'll look at your credit, everything, and then they'll give you a loan at a specific interest rate to borrow and buy a storage facility. I'm assuming this is more than $1 million.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing wrong with that route. That's cool. That's the traditional route. But what she's talking about is creative financing. So let's say you have somebody that's a baby boomer, they're in their 60s, 70s, and they are looking to sell this storage facility. And if they sell it, let's say they sell it at $2 million, they have to pay capital gains on that transaction. So what she is doing is very smart. She's saying to them, like, hey, I want to buy this from you, but let's do a partnership and I'll make payments to you privately. And depending on the terms, either you could pay them monthly and they receive that income monthly instead of getting it one lump sum. And the benefits to that for taxes is they don't have to pay the capital gains. Meanwhile, she manages the facility, everything stays in order. You can even do it where let's say you didn't know anything about running a storage facility, you can ask them to help you train you in to run it properly. And then you can learn from them at the same time. They get the money and you get the asset without having to get a big loan. And they can determine the interest rate, which could be a lot less than a bank.
Yeah.
Covered it all?
Beautiful. Yes, I loved it. That was great.
All right, awesome. So you, man, I'm telling you, you do a lot of cool stuff. I get excited just talking to you.
Thanks.
Do you have any announcements or anything that you'd like to say coming up? Or you got a ebook or
no, I don't.
Training?
No, actually, I don't.
You're just a one-woman show.
Yeah, I've been asked to mentor people on a one-on-one basis, or to do it to a bigger audience too. But I think right now, it's my belief that I need to be in the weeds.
Okay.
I'm kind of if I owned a building, this is just a philosophy of mine. I need to know how to clean the toilets or you know what I mean? I just need to make sure I know how to do everything down to the tiniest detail. I'm happy to teach people things. I do. People are let's grab lunch or coffee or whatever. I'm okay, I'll walk you through things. But I want to spend most of my time actually doing it.
Nice.
And I know that actually teaching it, there's a caveat. Teaching it actually helps you learn it even more deeply. But right now I just kind of want to throw myself I'm kind of an extreme person. Once I start something, I am okay, you're laughing because you're no, really? I'm an extreme person. Once I find something I really like, I really want to throw myself full throttle at it. And so that's where I'm at right now. And maybe down the line I will. But no, I think besides that, I think I might be moderating a panel for flippers and developers later on this month. I think on Thursday, October 24th.
So, Chi, what's your why?
Besides that, I guess. Good for
question.
any wholesalers, developers,
My
agents
why,
in San Diego.
my parents.
I'm just trying to meet more people. Basically, they got people from the Vietnam War. They left buyers list on the wholesale side for 6 months. Also be on other people's buyers list. And then they were taken by an American plane to America. And they came here with less than $100 and self-storage people. If you guys want to talk, and they built themselves up from
and stuff for the
nothing.
projects.
They had sponsors that they stayed with, which helped them a lot.
Yeah,
I do, but I'm always looking for more. I just love my parents' immigrant story because there were weeks where my mom had to tell my dad. So they had to walk to the grocery store that was a mile away, or more than a mile away, because they didn't have a car.
Right.
So they'd only be able to buy so much that they could carry.
Right.
But also, my dad would pick up a green apple and a red apple. And my mom had told me when I was younger, she was like, you know, it used to break me and my heart when I had to tell your dad, oh, honey, why don't we pick one of the apples this week and maybe we can get the other apple next week, because they had so little money, you know? And I was raised by my grandma. My brother, my sister, and I were raised by our grandma because both of my parents worked 2 jobs each. And so I barely saw my parents. The times that I would see them, my mom would, it was just because my mom picked us up to take us to some sort of practice, like martial arts or piano or whatever, all those very stereotypical things that Asian parents do. But, you know, and then she would sleep in the car because she was so sleep deprived. She would just wait for us and not even be able to watch our practice. She was so tired.
Wow.
And so I remember being on all these teams in high school and like competing on varsity and like being on tournaments on the weekends, and remembering like looking into the stands, like wishing that my parents were there to watch me, but they weren't, and they never were. And that's not to say they didn't love us. Like, I know my parents love us.
For sure they did.
Yeah, so much, to put all that time, energy, and finances towards our activities. But like, they had to be at work to make that happen for us, you know? And so I remember in high school telling myself as a 16-year-old, I'm like, I'm going to find some sort of career trajectory that allows me to be at all of my kids' games. I want to be able to make money in my sleep, and rentals are a great way of doing that, and investments are a great way of doing that, like Warren Buffett says. So, so yeah, that's my big why. And then also being able to get to a point where I'm making enough money that I can start my own nonprofit and fund it myself. So,
what type of nonprofit?
Yeah, so right now I'm actually the president of a nonprofit, an international one called Trek Relief.
Okay.
So we actually operate in Mongolia, Nepal, Chile, and Peru.
Wow.
So we do treks for people for about 9 to 12 days, and you trek in the mountains, these gorgeous Himalayan mountains or Patagonian mountains. And then you have volunteer days where we've built 2 elementary schools, 12 orphanages, and businesses help people like build themselves back up after the Gorkha earthquake where 9,000 people died.
Nice.
So a lot of different things, but essentially, eventually, I want to start my own nonprofit in Southeast Asia for sex-trafficked women and children.
Okay.
And
serious.
Yeah, serious. And I want to kind of incorporate my real estate career in there, because I want to put 3D built communities together, because a lot of these women are not able to reassimilate themselves into normal society, because even though they were taken by force and, you know, essentially raped over and over again, they're seen as dirty in a lot of cultures, and a lot of people won't take them back. And so I want to create communities where they can learn trades and crafts and things like that, and be able to offer something like to the community that they can sell and make a livelihood for themselves. And so, yeah, that's my long-term in the future goal.
So philanthropy.
Yeah.
When you're doing philanthropy, you're rich.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great reason to get that wealth.
That's really good. All powerful things. Couple of questions with all the stuff you just told me. What sports did you play?
Ooh, okay. So I did basketball, volleyball, long distance track and field, taekwondo, karate.
Dang.
Yeah, and a bunch of other ones that I'm not remembering right now.
And then what type of jobs did your parents have?
My dad was an electrical engineer, and
nice.
Yeah, and my mom was an LVN, a nurse.
Wow. So definitely she working with people all day. And shout out to nurses. Like my aunt had cancer, so I got to be at the hospital for a lot, like looking after her. But I got to see how the nurses work. Like, and during that time, some of them, if someone were to call in because they were partying or whatever, the nurse would stay like the whole night. So it's interesting because if she needed to go to the bathroom, whatever, the nurse would be helping someone else. We would help her go to the bathroom. So she had cancer, so we just would stay there all the time. Me and my uncle would switch shifts. Because we didn't want her to be in that situation. Because I know A lot of people are germaphobes, but you have certain people that are really germaphobes.
Yeah.
She was that type of person.
Yeah. My mom is actually the same way. I think maybe being in the hospital all the time makes you that way. You're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
the things that you can contract.
we were like, at least you should be able to, get food or do whatever when you want to, even though you don't have the power to do it to yourself. We're going to make sure that we're here to help you do that.
Yeah.
And then trekking, so that's hiking, right?
Hiking, yes.
Yeah. So what's one of the biggest or longest hikes you've ever done?
Ooh, good question. I think the W Trail in Patagonia was one of them, though that's kind of short. It's like 5 or 6 days. What?
I'm like Cow's Mountain, and you're like 5 or 6 days.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, sorry. I didn't mean, well, we've also done Mount Everest Base Camp with my nonprofit.
What?
So that was like 12 days and probably the coldest I've ever been, besides at the top of Mount Fuji in Japan. But Mount Everest Base Camp, serious respect to people who are ever trying to even train for Mount Everest. Like,
Yeah.
that is a beast. And I was cold all the time.
Yeah.
So that trek was a lot longer. But yeah, it was definitely one of the crown achievements for many people.
Wow, gee, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
See, like 5 or 6 days, it's kind of short. Like,
Yeah.
what?
I'm an outdoor enthusiast. Like, as you know now, I love surfing.
Yeah, holy
and
cow.
yoga. Yeah. Yeah. I know. I'm all over the place, but
Yeah,
I
but
love it.
now I understand why it's important for you to want to set yourself up to have the freedom to be there for your kids, because
Yeah.
with your family, and I'm sure your mom and dad got to be really proud of you.
Yeah.
To see what you've done in such a short period of time as well.
Yeah, they are. Thankfully, my parents, I have to say that my parents are so supportive because, we do fall into the stereotypical Asian thing, which is my mom wanted like all doctors.
Yeah.
And thankfully, like my sister and my brother carried that torch. My brother was like, you would have made the better doctor out of the three of us, but
Right.
like, cool, power to you for like doing whatever you do. I don't really understand it. I could never do what you do because it's so scary to me. It's what my brother and my sister are like, I cannot believe you're doing in the entrepreneurial route. It is crazy.
Yeah.
And they but they're total badasses. Like
Mhm.
my sister's a surgeon, my brother's a dentist. And
Nice.
so I told my mom one day, like, are you disappointed you don't have 3 doctors, And she's like, no. I talked to your sister, my older sister,
Yeah.
and she said, Mom, you never have to worry about Chi. She's probably already more successful than both of us. So
That's
I was
awesome.
like, thanks. And then my mom does say, she's like, everybody has their own path as well. And like, this is clearly your path. And my sister's like, your skill sets, like, because you love people so much, it would have gone to waste in the hospital. Like, I mean, yes, there's empathy and compassion that is needed there.
But it's limited.
Yeah, but I definitely think I chose the right thing. And thankfully, my mom was never wasn't hard on me for it. So I'm so grateful because I know some people have to like fight up a hill and like people are like doubting them, and I didn't have that, and I'm like,
It's cool.
yeah.
Are you
so grateful.
the middle child then? Because you said your brother's
Middle.
baby.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's probably why.
Yeah.
That's probably why. And then shout out to your parent. What's your dad say? Anything?
My dad? No, I think he same thing. I think I don't mind as much because my mom had way more goals for us than my dad
Oh,
did.
really?
Because my mom was always like, I just want you kids to go to college. Like,
Got
I
it.
just want you to do this. So she always had like a carrot in front of us. Like,
Right.
I wish I could have done this, and I'm hoping you guys can do it now. Like, I wanted to do ballet, so I'm putting you in ballet. I wanted to do tap dance. So she just sacrificed so much for us. Like, she barely saw us. And like, I think I told you, my brother just had his first baby, the first baby in the family. So I'm an aunt now. I'm super excited. But my mom missed that whole part of our childhood. I never. She's so sad that she never got to play with us. Truly, like in our home videos, you see that she's never playing. She's always cooking. She's always cleaning. She's always doing something. She's going to work. Like, she doesn't get to play. So now I'm hoping that we all get to give that to her now.
Well, yeah, their grandkids, she'll play a lot.
Yeah.
And then she'll like get a bunch of sugar and then drop them off. And you're like, what are you doing?
Yes.
What are you doing? Like, my mom would do that. She would tell. So my mom was single mom, great mother, whatever, but she was tough, like hard on me. She played dad and mama, and when she was dad, like, she'd punch me and stuff if I did stuff
Oh
wrong. So
yeah.
make sure I knew to be afraid of her. So
Yes.
right till like 21, I wouldn't mess with my mom. Like,
Yes.
but
Shout out to those moms too, right?
yeah,
Because it's not like you want to play that role. Like you
no,
don't want to be that disciplinarian. Like I always
yeah,
say, like I want to be the fun parent sometimes. Like,
yeah,
but like I I don't know. I hear that story about single moms all the time, what you just said, which
hmm
is like, man, they ruled a strong household.
oh my God.
They ruled with a strong ruler,
Yeah, you
And
never wanted her upset. You
yeah.
just be like, hey, whatever I got to do to,
Yeah.
they're not yelling at me. I just want to do that. Um,
Yeah.
but what was funny is when I had my daughter, my daughter would do something. I'm like, oh, she's about to get a spanking.
Yeah.
And my mom would be, oh, no. And I'm like, what is this person? Who
Yes,
is this?
yes, exactly. So I surf at a certain break here in San Diego. I won't name it, but I surf with a lot of people who are also older, and they're all like grandparents now. And the guys are like, honestly, being a grandparent is the best job. It's so much better than being a parent because
hmm
you're not worried about the outcome. That's their parents' job. And now you get to just be the fun one. So I'm stoked for my mom to be able to do that.
Yeah, so two things with my mom. So one time there was like a big event going on in Minnesota, and my friends were all trying to get me to go out, and I'm a young parent. I'm in my 20s, and I'm like, Mom, will you watch Sierra for me tonight? And she was like, nope, I'm not gonna do it. I'm like, Mom, I can't remember what it was. It was like a playoff basketball game or something.
Yeah.
And her line was the greatest. She goes, I didn't have fun making that baby. You stay home and take care of your daughter. You only are limited to see her, when you have your weekend. Nope. It got to be next weekend. I'm like, the game's not next weekend. Not my problem.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that was the lesson to learn that,
Yeah.
this is your responsibility. Enjoy it, whatever. And then what was the other thing? It'll come to me later, but
Your mom sounds awesome.
yeah,
I feel like
my
I would be
mom
really good friends with her.
my mom is awesome. She really let me know like life is real. Like, don't mess around. Like it's serious business. Like you need to be great. You need to do things. But what she would do is because like when I was young, I always was into money and stuff. I always wanted money.
Yes.
So she would tell me, she like, because she didn't have that, I guess, foresight. So she was like, I don't know what got into you and why you are what you are. So I just kind of let you do your thing. Because you were talking about how your parents kind of let you do that.
Yes.
So she never really said like, I want you to be a lawyer. Or I want you to be, because I always wanted to do something big, even when I was little. Always like business minded, whatever.
I call that playground hustle. I love asking that question to entrepreneurs. I'm
Right.
like, what was your playground hustle?
Oh,
And
man.
most of the time they had something, you know?
I always had something going on, or I'm trying to middleman a deal. Like if you
Yeah.
had something going on, I'm like, all right, so if I help you doing that, could you give me a piece of the pie? And then I'll help promote your thing. So
Yes.
I think that's been in me since I was little.
Yeah. I honestly was just thinking, I was like, I can't imagine a world where a senator is not successful because you have the crazy people skills and you have this amazing ability to like pull things together mentally. You're like, that makes sense if we do this and this. And like, if anybody, I mean, I'm sure the audience has spoken to you, all of them have in person, but like when somebody gets deep with you in a conversation, I'm just like blown away by like the way your mind works and how you can see things so differently than like the average person.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like we all have a superpower.
That's not mine. It's definitely yours.
Yeah.
It's definitely yours.
I don't know. I can just put stuff. It's like when a person can dress really well and you put all the clothes down. My friend, we call him Sean Gibson. He could always like put together like an outfit and just make it look good, and the shoes would match this and that. And I'm pretty good dresser, but Sean's like next level.
Yeah.
So I feel like everyone has something that they do, but I connect with people really natural. And even if I go to a place and like you see me out and I talk to a lot of people, but even when I try not to talk to someone and just kind of blend in.
Yeah. Doesn't ever happen.
Yeah, people will just gravitate towards
you.
it.
Have an energy. I think that's probably why we first met, where I was like, get up here. Like, you know what I mean? Like our funny like origin friendship story. Like, come on. You're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. So you definitely have that aura. So.
Thank you. No, that's awesome. Is there anything else we want to
No,
add to it?
I think that's it.
All right, man. I think it's it then, Leo. Today.
Yeah.
Well, hey, it was kind of short, but it was awesome. In the words of Dr. J, just chill till next episode, and we're out.